if I woke up
and there was none left.
Yeah.
There was no more credit.
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
Hello everyone, welcome to Lay It Out, the No Bullshit Science podcast.
With extra bullshit.
I'm Curie.
I'm Alice.
And she's Demelza.
Demelza got a haircut.
Yeah, she looks lovely.
She's looking fab.
You'll see it in the picture.
Oh yeah, because we actually took it this week.
Yeah.
And also this week it's also the return of Chef Demelza.
So good.
It was a glorious return.
Guys, Demelza is a woman of many talents, and one of them is cooking. And
oh, it was so good. So we had pasta with a homemade pesto of
spinach
and walnut. Walnuts are really good for you, Yeah.
So spinach.
Walnuts are like I'd say walnuts are better for you than spinach.
Don't you think it's
controversial
really cool?
statement, but yeah.
I don't really like walnuts that much.
Really?
Yeah, but I couldn't really taste it in the pesto. And I realised I don't like pecans either. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I like brain-shaped nuts.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
They're very bitter.
Okay.
Anywho.
And the meatballs are also delicious.
Oh, there were turkey meatballs made from turkey thigh mince. And they also had... It's an important point. It makes all the difference. If those meatballs were made from breast mince, they wouldn't be as flavourful as they were.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. And they had feta and dried fruits. And like Demelza's interpretation of red wine when you don't have red wine, which is sherry and red wine vinegar.
Yeah. I actually only very recently have started liking feta. And very recently, I mean, in the past week.
So because you were forced to eat it.
It's really weird. This happens to me. So it was on my holiday in Greece. And I've noticed that when I'm in a country, like say if there's a food I don't like, if I'm in a country where that food is from, I start liking it. Yeah.
That means it's all in your head.
Yeah. I know that though. But like I can't get over the barrier until I go to that country.
If you were my child...
We've talked about this before.
If you were my child, you would not eat.
Yeah.
Because you will eat what I give you.
I really like Korean food though.
Anyway, I actually have no comeback to it.
Okay, so, but yeah, the fashion was great anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, how was your holiday?
It was really good, yeah. It was
Where's
lovely.
your tan?
Moving on. Curie said that to me yesterday, and the only reason I didn't stop talking to her and never be her friend again was because she bought me a brownie.
I did. They're Pride brownies for Pride Month from Conditor and Cook, and they were delicious.
And if you go on Curie's foodie Instagram, because she's an Insta-ho.
What the fuck?
She's so many Instagrams.
I have
3.
One of them is the podcast.
Yeah.
Which you run, right?
But you also have access to it.
Okay. And then I have my food Instagram, which is called How I Met Your Menu. Please follow. I can't take credit for the name. It was Natalie made up the name.
Good name.
And then...
Good one, Natalie.
My personal one.
Yeah, 3.
I feel like that's not that many.
Anyway, we're getting off subject here.
Sorry.
I was just trying to tell the people. I was giving you a plug to your Instagram.
Sorry.
So that they could go and see the Pride brownies. How I Met Your Menu.
Yeah, they're great.
They are.
Conditor and Cook if you want to send us free stuff.
Okay, so could we do maybe Conditor and Cook and Patch?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sponsor us.
Please. Thanks.
Yeah, do you have anything else to say?
Don't think so.
No.
Let's bring on our guest.
Okay. So this week we have another science guest. This episode is going to be slightly different from our usual. We've been branching out a lot this season. Our episodes have been a bit more varied, and it's going to be really fun. I sound like a parent.
You're like a teacher telling kids something they don't want to do.
It's going to be super fun.
It's going to be really fun.
But it will be. So we'd like to introduce Dom.
Hi.
You're quite lucky because normally our guests have a way longer period of listening to us talk absolute shite.
It's really difficult to follow all the top quality banter that I just said. So I'm glad it was shorter.
Okay, I'm gonna assume you're not being sarcastic and that you're being genuine.
Do you know what though? You know our intros when the guests can't laugh?
Yeah.
That gives me a massive ego boost because normally our guests are dying because they want to laugh.
They are.
And, we're funny.
We're just so funny.
We are funny.
We're hilarious.
right?
Awkward silence.
Yeah, you guys are great.
Yeah, okay,
This is great.
Okay, yeah, Dom's really enjoying himself anyway.
I think this episode's over, guys.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, goodbye.
Bye.
That was fun. Bye. Okay, so how do we know Dom?
So Dom is a PhD student at King's as well. Dom and I are on the same program, but mainly Alice and I were Dom's participants.
Yeah.
Which Dom's very excited about.
Yeah, so that's why this episode is going to be interesting, because we were in a trial where we were basically...
No, don't tell them yet.
No, wait. So, like, we were blinded and we're going to do a live reveal of results, which is going to be really fun.
And then we'll also get into what the trial was.
Yeah.
But first of all...
Let's get to know our guests. Yes. Oh, that was such nice, like... flow.
Segueing.
Yeah.
And then we ruined it by being like, oh, that was great.
It, like, genuinely you said it, and I was just waiting for like a theme song to kick in. Like,
We did used to have a midway jingle, but we've abandoned that now recently. Yeah.
That was a good jingle as well.
Yeah.
Dom, so tell us about you, your journey into science, and sort of what you're doing now.
How you got here?
how did I get here? So yeah, I mean, so I'm in my third year of this PhD out of 4, so I've got a year and a bit to go, and I decided to go into research a few years ago after my undergrad, when I was contemplating life and what to do.
Were you also a typical, was going to do medicine and then decided to do the research route?
Kind of, a little bit. So like I went and I was doing biomed at King's with the intention of then applying for medicine afterwards. And I was really drawn to like neurology, psychiatry, and through doing that course I realised that none of the treatments really do anything. And I felt that
Classic disillusion.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, you know, do I want to go into a job where every day it's just like, I can't really help anyone.
Yeah.
So I decided to like go into research and try and find the treatments that do work. And in my undergrad, I was doing a lot of cell stuff, animal stuff, and I hated them both.
So you were like, what's next? Humans.
Yeah, there was a day where I was just like, oh, human stuff is a thing that I never even considered. Because like in my undergrad, like there was such an emphasis on animal stuff and cell stuff that I didn't really think there was anything else. To me, that was science. And I was like, oh yeah, you can do stuff with people and you don't have to kill them afterwards. It's great.
I mean, sometimes you want to.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went and I did a master's in human stuff.
What was the actual title of your master's?
Human stuff. So it was cognitive neuroscience at UCL, and I was working in a social neuroscience lab. So I was doing stuff about mimicry and how people like communicate and use their bodies in conversation, which was really interesting.
That sounds so interesting. So you're able to analyze what our bodies are like right now?
Yeah, I'm constantly like taking notice of, especially when like I'm like doing something that someone else is doing. Like when I'm just like sitting in a talk or something, I'm like hyper aware of it. But it doesn't really.
Is mimicry like a sign of anything?
Mimicry, people
what's the
typically
theory?
mimic to try and promote like bonding between people. So if you're trying to like impress someone, you're like more likely to try and mimic like the way they're sitting.
And I
or
heard
their
that
gesture.
if you like someone as well, right, you tend to mimic their body language.
Yeah. But that's kind of the same as like bonding.
Bonding,
right?
Yeah.
I watched this really interesting YouTube video recently, and it was a ex-FBI agent who was a body language expert, and he was like talking about how they analyze criminals and all this. It was really interesting.
I love that shit.
Yeah,
I want to watch that.
yeah.
Send the link around.
I think it might be on Wired.
So that was your master's.
Yeah, I worked in that lab for a year afterwards as well, and I felt like what I was doing was interesting, but I wanted to do something a bit more clinically relevant.
A bit more heavy hitting.
Yeah, and I did a lot of like pharmacology stuff and like neuroscience stuff in my undergrad, and I kind of missed that, and like mental health stuff as well. So I wanted to do something that involved like drugs and the brain and psychiatry. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. So I'm in the psychosis department and doing stuff about like sort of identifying people at risk for psychosis and some cannabis stuff.
Yeah. So that's a little
We will
segue
get on
into yeah.
Are we segueing now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now on to the PhD,
Such a
and
good
this
segue.
is the PhD.
I love how now it's become a thing in this episode that we dissect our segues after. It's like, oh, that was a nice segue.
Right.
Well
Do you know what
done.
it is? It's because we're both really wanting to know.
Yeah,
The
what's
You're
the
just trying to
yes,
move
no.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, but for reals, the trial is your PhD.
Yeah.
So
Did you do? I'm actually curious though. Did you do anything before that the main trial?
Yeah, so yes and no. So
You were supposed to, but it didn't work.
kind
is what
of.
you're
Well,
saying.
because I have this is one part of 3 things that I'm doing my PhD, and the other 2 things are more connected. So the original plan was that I was trying to better identify people at risk for psychosis. So people who kind of have low-level symptoms, but that aren't as severe as people with the full disorder, and kind of better assess their risk as well once we've identified them as being at risk. And then the final part, which didn't happen, is then testing a potential treatment, because at the minute there aren't any drug treatment for people at risk. There's psychotherapy.
I'm really sorry, I zoned out for about 2 minutes. Can you start again?
Okay, he's not starting again.
Wait, can you just give
Leave
me
it all
can you
in.
just give me 2 bullet points?
No, you're not getting it. Sorry, it's too late.
Please.
No.
I feel like I've jumped in the middle of a TV show.
Whose fault is that?
I'm so sorry. Just quick bullet points. First objective.
So, trying to identify people at risk for
Okay,
psychosis,
and then second?
better assess people at risk for psychosis as
Okay.
well. And then the third bit, which didn't happen, was trying to sort of test a drug treatment for people at risk as well.
Okay.
So at the minute there aren't any drug treatments at all.
I'm all caught up, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So we do run a clinical service here in the trust for people at risk, and they get kind of regular sort of psychotherapy, CBT, things like that. But that's the only kind of preventative.
So before we go further, do you want to tell us what psychosis actually is?
Sure thing, Curie.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why you said it like that, like we just discussed asking you this question.
You're right. It was really weird that I gave that impression. So psychosis is a very broad term. So schizophrenia is the main thing that people kind of think of with psychosis. So psychosis is kind of a disorder where people have kind of hallucinations, so they either see things that aren't there, hear things that aren't there, or any other kind of sensory thing. They believe things that kind of are completely illogical, so mainly things like conspiracy related, people out to get them, things like that.
Am I right in thinking that? I feel like this was explained to me during the trial, maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But in psychosis, it's an umbrella term, so you don't have to have all of those symptoms.
No,
You can have some of
So
them.
there are 7 main kind of positive symptoms. So things that people experience on top of normal day-to-day stuff. And you only need to have one of those
Okay.
to a serious level.
So just to clarify, if it's a positive symptom, it's something that's addition, not positive as in good.
Good, no.
Positive as
Yeah.
in addition.
Yeah, not necessarily good. Most likely not good.
Yeah.
But something that's added to your usual experience. By contrast, you have negative ones that are things like low mood, lack of motivation, so things that kind of are lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think someone who doesn't know much about it would probably generally assume that if you have psychosis that you're going to be crazy and violent. I think that's the generalization.
Or just
a lot of people
dangerous in
think.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of especially with not so much recent films, but definitely older
Paranoid
films.
schizophrenia.
Yeah. But I mean the 2 things that I don't think come across well is firstly, people with psychosis generally aren't particularly dangerous to other people, most likely to themselves, so self-harm is quite high, but not so much violence towards others. And also psychosis is a very episodic disorder, so you have periods of time where you're completely functioning normally, going about your day as you normally would, and then you also have kind of periods of time where it's a lot harder and your symptoms are a lot worse.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you were saying before that generally the therapies that we have now are things like CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. So do you want to tell us about what that is?
So CBT is all about identifying sort of triggers for kind of negative things in your life and coming up with strategies to kind of cope with those and kind of change the way you react to those triggers. So it's most commonly used in kind of more depression, etc. So psychosis, it isn't typically recommended, but for people at risk, so only around a third of those people identified are actually going to develop psychosis. So typically with psychosis you'd prescribe antipsychotic drugs, but you wouldn't want to prescribe it to a group of people who there are only like a third of them who are actually going to get the disorder, because the drugs have really bad side effects. And a lot of these people are really young, so it's like 16 to 25. So you don't want to be giving people sort of really bad sort of physical health or any other sort of negatives that are kind of associated with side effects of antipsychotics.
I don't know. I was listening to something recently about psychosis. I don't know what it was. Or somebody was reading something about psychosis. But is this right that apparently it's way more common when you're younger? The risk of getting it decreases as you get older? Or the risk of having an episode is something after 25 or something?
So the key kind of time period for psychosis is 25 to 35.
Oh, okay.
Particularly in men.
Okay.
In women, there's another little peak later on in life, around late 30s, early 40s.
And it's more common in black men, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so being sort of Afro-Caribbean descent increases your risk as well. But yeah, in women, there's another peak kind of related to sort of pregnancy and menopause. There's like a hormonal link there as well.
Interesting.
Fucking pregnancy ruins
Fucking
everything.
hormones.
Ruins everything.
And is it in general, is it more common in men or women?
It's more common in men.
Interesting. That's like most things. I don't know, maybe it's because I come from the nutrition side of things, but all I ever hear is it's more common in women. This is much more common in women, I feel. Maybe that's just because I am a woman that I pay more attention. I don't know, but that's what I feel.
Well, congratulations, you have this one thing.
Yes!
Hey, we have colourblindness too. Men have it more.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, shit.
But my granny is colourblind.
Oh.
So I've got nice genetics.
She's an exception to the rule.
Cool. So your PhD has moved away a bit from...
Well, so the first two things I'm still doing. So that study finished last week.
Oh,
Yay.
congratulations.
But yeah, so that treatment thing. So I was doing a clinical trial, but the start of it just kept getting delayed and delayed. So it's meant
As
to
does
start.
happen with the clinical trial.
It's weird how it always happens.
Oh, God.
But it was meant to start like summer 2017, and I don't think it started yet.
Oh, jeez.
So
So just ethics is the problem?
no, they just keep sort of changing. It's like
yeah.
it's like there are 50 centres across the world, and
wow.
they change one thing and then they have to change loads of stuff.
Yeah.
So it became quite clear that it was like each patient was going to be in the trial for a year as well. So it was quite clear that like
You're rapidly running out of time.
yeah. So yeah, someone I know needed some help on a cannabis study, and it kind of time-wise worked out for me. So I just kind of just hopped on over to that.
Just slotted in there. Nice.
Yeah.
So do you want to explain the trial to us? Because we
Sure.
don't know anything about it.
This is the first you've heard of this study.
Yes. And what is cannabis?
I actually have a question, sorry.
Ooh,
So,
sure.
you do like cannabis work, right?
Yeah.
Do you get lots...
Are you actually awake?
No, okay.
This just occurred to you. It's like, wait, Dom does cannabis?
Oh my god.
Genuine question. Right?
Yeah.
Do you get lots of like disapproving family members or friends about the fact that you work with weed?
No, actually, none at all. Just loads of jokes at family dinners mainly. It's like I spend my days getting high, which
Yeah.
isn't true. Just getting other people high instead.
Sorry, anyway, continue. Just curious.
So yeah, I mean, cannabis is the most popular drug in the world, and that popularity is likely to increase as
With growing legalization.
exactly what we've found kind of over the past few decades, kind of looking at sort of cannabis research, is there are some negative effects of cannabis as well as the stuff that people really enjoy about cannabis. So one of those
Really?
things,
Interesting.
yeah. Would you know about any of these?
No.
So the three main ones, I guess, is so increases your risk of psychosis. So that's one of the main risk factors for psychosis is sort of cannabis use. And the more you smoke, the more your risk increases. And another one is addiction. So while it's not necessarily an addictive substance, cannabis addiction is a sort of a disorder that is growing in incidence at the moment, especially as people have more access to cannabis now. And the last one is kind of like memory impairment. So the more you smoke, the more your memory tends to be, your functioning kind of declines. So those are the bad things that we want to try and improve upon. So what we were interested in is trying to look into if there was a way of making cannabis safer, with the intention of kind of going into two avenues. So one of those is for patients with psychosis who do smoke. As I said before, psychosis is very like episodic, so people can go for like long periods of time without having a psychotic episode. For those patients who do smoke cannabis, their risk of having another episode is 4 times those who don't.
Wow.
And kind of by the same token, people with sort of cannabis use disorder who are addicted to cannabis, we'd be able to give them something that's less harmful for them to smoke. So the idea of this study was to find a safe version of cannabis that in the future we could potentially prescribe to people that it would benefit, while also maybe informing policy if legalization were to kind of go forward.
In the UK.
In the UK.
Is that a thing?
It seems like it might be more likely. So
Sick.
in November last year, cannabis was kind of rescheduled. So drugs, kind of illicit drugs, are kind of put into this scheduling. So Schedule 1 drugs is kind of like the most kind of illicit, and it means that there's sort of no medicinal benefit to those drugs. So cannabis was a Schedule 1 drug up until November, when it got moved down to Schedule 2, which means that there's some... Yeah.
Are the schedules the same thing as class?
No, I think class is more to do with like general harm.
Okay.
So that's kind of a separate scale.
Scheduling is just to do with can they benefit
Health.
Yeah.
in any way?
Yeah, so there was a lot of stuff in the news last year about Billy Caldwell. He was a kid with epilepsy, and his mum tried to... I don't know if sneak in is the right word. She alerted the authorities that she was bringing in this sort of CBD oil that's been kind of... There's some evidence to show that it is effective for epilepsy. So she brought that in, and there was kind of... It brought this big sort of media frenzy about this kid who was being denied medicine. And that kind of led to cannabis being rescheduled, essentially.
I mean, CBD has like really taken off over the past year.
Yeah.
Sure, you can get it in your coffee these days.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you shouldn't though, because like I get so many like I get loads
Tell
of,
us, I'm fascinated.
I get loads of these like media requests about like CBD oils and stuff, because you can just buy it at like Holland and Barrett, and like there's like CBD coffees, there's CBD desserts as well, but there's nothing in it. There's no CBD in
Is there
these
not?
things. So I mean, firstly, I think there's like a bit of an issue of would CBD do anything anyway? Like I've seen some people say like adding CBD in your coffee might let you like stop having like caffeine jitters or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's really proven.
Interesting.
I've seen a lot of things about people that use CBD oil on like sore muscles and joints and stuff, and they've seen really big effects on that, or is that all just placebo then?
I don't know. I mean, there is some kind of indication it's like anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any kind of transdermal studies that have shown to reduce muscle soreness or anything.
And are you kind of saying that what you're buying basically may or may not have any CBD in it?
So yeah, we don't actually know if it does, because the legislation here means that you don't have to like prove how much CBD you have.
Yeah.
The one thing that they do...
It's like sourdough bread.
It is a bit like sourdough. But also, please explain how it's like sourdough.
So it's like there's no regulations for sourdough bread, so you can walk into Tesco and buy something that's called sourdough for a £1, and it has no sourdough starter in it at all.
It's just got that texture and like
It wouldn't even have the texture.
just bread.
They can
Just
they can
holy.
call it sourdough.
just lots of holes.
You can call whatever you want sourdough. There's no like minimum amount of whatever you need in it.
Yeah.
My sister told me though that for it to be legit sourdough, it would probably cost at least £3,
Yeah.
maybe 4.
I mean, you can tell when you have really good
Yeah,
sourdough.
it's like
Yeah.
chewy and tangy
Yeah.
Yeah.
and sour. It actually tastes sour.
It does. I love sourdough.
So yeah,
Starter
CBD oil
magic.
is just the exact same as sourdough.
But just if you would like some
guess
really
so.
good sourdough, go to Silo.
Solo.
Silo
Oh yeah.
had the nicest
Oh,
sourdough
God,
I've
it
ever
was
had in my
amazing.
life.
Where is that?
It's in Brighton, but they're moving to London soon.
Okay, that's great because
They've actually closed in Brighton.
Ooh, that means they're moving soon.
Yeah. Or well, no, I think they're closing like next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
it seemed
Anyway,
like
sorry.
a bit too far to travel for sourdough, so I'm glad it's moving.
I've seen makeup brands are now including CBD oil into their makeup as well.
My sister takes it for
Yeah.
period pain.
Does it work?
I've been tempted to get
Placebo,
oil.
I'd say.
Yeah.
I've been tempted to get it for like backache and neck ache and stuff, just because like
Just give it a try.
I've seen people that have said it's so good.
Placebo
That's the thing. But I mean, but just because it's placebo,
isn't actually a bad thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you can take anything. You can take something cheaper.
You could take TikTok.
Yeah. So like in like the studies, like people get like 600 milligrams a day.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the kind of daily doses you see with like the sort of high street CBD is like 20 maybe.
Okay, so
So like
very
it's,
much less.
yeah, it's really poorly absorbed.
Yeah.
So like you have to take a lot of it, or it has to be really potent.
Yeah.
A lot of the kind of stuff used in studies is made from cannabis, unsurprisingly, but it's very expensive to remove the THC. So it makes sense for pharmaceutical companies. It makes less sense for people who are trying to make a quick buck making
Yeah.
coffee. So they use hemp, which is, it doesn't have as many kind of cannabinoids in it. So you get less CBD out of it and you get a
Okay.
weaker oil.
Cool. And just before we go on, because you mentioned THC, but for people who might not know that much about cannabis, can you explain kind of THC and CBD and
And then this goes nicely into your trial.
It sure
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
What great segues.
Tonight.
I like this as the first like analysis like before the segue. It's like this will be a great segue.
we've gone next level?
Yeah, so there are two kind of main things in cannabis. So there's THC and CBD. So THC is the thing that gets you high, and it also is kind of linked with the kind of negative things as well. So the kind of psychosis stuff, memory impairment, things like that. Whereas CBD is kind of largely been ignored until quite recently, but it's shown to be quite promising as an antipsychotic drug, anti-anxiety medication. So yeah, in our study, we're kind of looking at different ratios of these two compounds to see if you kind of increase the levels of CBD if you get a safer cannabis. So if you buy weed on the street, especially here in London, you're just going to get THC because obviously that's what gets you high.
Yeah.
So THC and CBD come from the same molecule, so the more you have of one, the less you get of the other kind of naturally. So if you want to get people higher, you need to get more THC, and by nature you're going to get less CBD. So the strength of cannabis has gone up, lots of THC and very little CBD.
Okay. It's quite funny because I remember when I was doing the study and that was being explained to me, and then now anytime I'm talking to people about it and they ask me questions like, yeah, so if you buy weed if you buy weed on the street, and literally at that point in the sentence, normally whoever I'm talking to breaks down laughing because it's kind of like, oh, do you go on the street and buy weed? Like the implication being that I'm out on the street buying weed all the time.
I do have your drug history here on this computer.
Oh
We
God,
can talk
no,
about that
we're
if
not
you want.
talking about that. Let's not talk about that.
Okay, so what's your trial?
Yeah, so we're looking at different ratios of THC to CBD. So we're getting people who don't really smoke weed, but have smoked at least once in the past before, to come in sort of 4 times, trying different ratios of CBD to THC, making them do some sort of memory tasks, see if they get paranoid, make them eat some chocolate, listen to some music.
It was great.
Oh, that was the best
He
bit.
got us high, and
The
then we
chocolate was
ate
great.
chocolate, listened to some music, and went to the shops.
Well, it wasn't that great. Those memory tests, like you were like, oh, some memory tests. Oh my
And
God.
then, like, what felt like an hour later, you're still fucking looking at some faces.
And you just want the chocolate. All you want is the chocolate.
Yeah, so let's
That's
go.
how it gets you through, though.
Oh,
It's like
God.
the chocolate's there as a reward.
So you might not have guessed it, but because we've been really subtle about it.
Very subtle.
But Alice and I participated in Dom's trial.
What?
So we thought it'd be really fun on this episode to bring Dom on. So we actually wanted to have Dom on this podcast for ages, but we needed to wait till the trial was over so that
we could reveal.
So he could unblind himself to which doses we were taking and give us our results.
So before we go any further, do you want to so we went for 4 visits.
Yeah.
So we got 4 different. Yeah.
Should we talk through a typical
Yeah, go
day?
for it. Yeah. Talk through. Give us a day in the life.
Yeah.
Of Dom.
So Alice and Curie come in.
Sadly, not together. I was hoping we would be allowed to go together, but no.
You didn't one of you ask to
think
do
you did.
for the podcast? You would like wanted to do it on like Curie's last visit or something while she was high.
No, that was. Remember, we floated that idea, and then we were like, no, it'd be dreadful.
What, to record the podcast while I was high?
Yeah.
That would have been awful.
It would have been so bad.
Both for the data
I wouldn't have said
and for
anything.
the listeners.
Oh yeah, it would have been so boring.
I would have literally just
speaking.
sat there napping.
Yeah. Dom knows.
Yeah. So you come in, you do some breathalyzers to make sure that you haven't had any alcohol.
Which has shit, by the way.
How dare you? It was the best breathalyzer for under £40.
Top quality science.
But I think Alice and I both had a visit where we came up as having drunk something, and we hadn't.
So
And then we had to do a fucking drug test and a pregnancy test. So on one of my visits, so we did this drug test, right? And then and a pregnancy test, and you guys needed to retest me because I'd come up positive for something. And
But they didn't tell you what?
They didn't tell me which one it was, and obviously I'm
my
now
God.
there like shitting myself about which one it is. And then it turns out it was because I had poppy seed toast for breakfast.
the same thing happened to me when I did the pilot. I came up positive for like morphine and like heroin and opiates, and I was just like, I don't remember it. And then they were like, yeah, have you had poppy seeds? I'm like, yeah, like a shit ton this morning before I came here. Why?
It's crazy though, because there's not much on a slice of toast.
No, there's so small poppy seeds.
Anywho, sorry.
And
Continue.
poppy seeds are strong.
Yeah.
Apparently, you get the same with sesame seeds as well, but not as much as poppy seeds.
What, for
Really?
heroin?
For opiates, yeah.
Huh, I didn't know. Interesting.
Continue.
Yeah, so after that you get a mystery batch of weed. So
That you get to breathe in a big balloon.
yeah, so you get 10 milligrams of THC every time. So you should get the same level of high each time you come in, but the quality of that high will change. So 10 milligrams is quite a lot, as you guys know. A typical joint is around 7 milligrams of THC, so you have a joint and a bit's worth, which is quite a bit. And then we don't know how much CBD is in it, so it's either 0 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 20 or 30. So 0 to 1, 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 3 to 1. So you get 2 big balloons full, so you use a vaporizer, so it's nice and easy on your lungs, and we can dose inside the hospital instead of making you go outside to smoke a joint, which would be really fucking weird.
Imagine escorting your participants out the front of the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're just going to ask you to smoke this joint.
I guess it's Camberwell, is it that weird?
Are hospitals in the UK smoke free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all the grounds.
Yeah. So you get 2 balloons worth. After that, you get to lie down, have a nice little rest, or we take some bloods and some vitals from you, blood pressure and stuff. And after that 15 minutes, you get to do loads of fun tasks on the computer. Test
So
your
fun.
memory.
So
You
fun.
can see all of the traumatic flashbacks running through your head.
So traumatic.
They were awful.
No, they're terrible.
Yeah.
After that, to reward you, you get to have some chocolate, listen to some music. And the reason we do that is because, as I said earlier, like, we want to prescribe this to patients, like, later down the line. So if it's kind of positive in terms of, like, memory and, like, psychotic-like effects, that's one thing. But if we're then prescribing it to people, but they're not kind of getting the same enjoyable high that they're used to in making their own stuff, they're just going to smoke their own stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why we did that. And also, I think people aren't really going to complain about getting to do that on the study.
No, and it was the best chocolate. It was Marabou.
Yeah.
My favourite chocolate in the world.
Yeah, I must say, in the first visit, you know, when you ask us on our control visit, you ask us to choose whether we want milk or dark chocolate. And normally I'm a dark chocolate person, so I chose dark. And then I think one of you was like, "Hang on, think about this carefully. What would you want to eat?" And I was like, "You're right. Let's do the milk. Let's do the milk."
That sounds like something I would have said because I was one of the
Amir
pilots.
said that to me.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, I was about to answer, and he was like, "Think about what you'd want to eat when you're high," and I was like, "Milk."
He's also pushing the Marabou because he's Swedish. He's like very like, if you don't pick it, I think it's a personal like attack on him, his culture. So
I think I was like definitely in the go books when I like freaked out that it was Marabou.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I chose the dark chocolate when I did it.
Really?
Because I was like, oh, it's going to taste really like complex. And then I got high and I was just like,
flavors.
Yeah, I was like, so many flavors I'd never tasted before. And then I got high and I was like, I want the sugar. Give me the sugar. So you get the chocolate, listen to some music. And then obviously one of the things that we're looking at is like paranoia. And one way to get people a bit paranoid when they're high is to make them deal with people. So we have a little social interaction task where we get you to walk down to M&S and buy something and talk to a cashier. Ask for a receipt.
If there's no cashier there, you have to force a conversation with a random stranger.
It's great.
Arguably that would induce anxiety in people. In some certain people anyway.
We had a lot of people say that they were most anxious about it when they were sober.
Yeah.
Like most people, like a lot of people just like didn't care.
Really
they were
care.
just too high to care when they were doing it. After that you came back, sobered up for a bit, had some lunch, and then we had some like little chats about how the day was for you.
Mm-hmm. How you felt about everybody in the room.
Yeah.
I had some opinions.
And then at the end of it all, you asked us what we thought we had at each visit.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you guys to rank your visits. So
on how much like CBD we were kind of getting each time or whatever. Which one we had?
So we asked you, what was your most enjoyable one?
Okay.
And what was the one that made you most paranoid?
Okay. Interesting.
So you did that 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And tried all of them. And now we get to find out what your favourite one was.
So have you unblinded, have you looked at everybody's results yet?
So we're still kind of in the process of analysing it. So we don't really know
you don't know
group level wise what's going on. But we can talk about your guys' stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. And just, as a note for people listening, that the results that are being revealed here, because it's just for me and Alice, they don't necessarily mean that's the effect. It's on an individual basis.
Yeah, so you're 2 out of 46 people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more out there that needs to go into.
Yeah. So the important result is what you get at the end when you analyse all 46 people together.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're interested, there will be an episode of Horizon showing this all.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Probably in September.
Nice.
Are you on it?
Yeah.
Oh, gonna be on TV.
Yeah.
Curry's been on TV.
There's 2 celebs in this room.
Yeah.
Mine hasn't aired yet.
Has it not?
No.
Mine neither, but we'll take it.
Okay, put your dicks away. Let's move on.
So what do you guys remember from your visits?
My first one was awful. My first one was the worst one, for sure. Like, I felt terrible afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
My third visit was the most enjoyable. I remember that.
That is what I've got here. It all makes sense.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I can corroborate that.
It's like, yes.
I remember my first one, like, I can't remember who did the visit, but whoever was, like, sitting there was like, so, are you feeling high? And this is the part where I was lying in the bed and I was like, no, not really. I didn't feel that high my first visit. It hit me after a while, but like the other 3, it got me a lot faster. I can't remember whether it was my second or my third, but one of them was really awful as well. And I remember being really, really depressed the next day.
I think it was your second
I was
one.
so sad the next day. Yeah. And I knew it was because of the weed. It was so weird. I knew it was because of getting high. But I was like, but I just feel so sad. It was so strange. It was weird.
I remember during my first one, which was my worst one, that like genuinely I felt so terrible that there was a point where I was like, I don't know if I can continue with this trial. Like I was like, if this is what it feels like every time, I don't know if I can carry on, because my head is fucking gonna explode.
You used to text me during your visits. I don't know if I texted you during mine.
You during one, no?
No, you texted me during a few of them.
I think I was just proud that they managed to get my blood.
Yeah, actually, it was never like how you were feeling. Really, it was just like, yeah, they got the cannula. Woo!
Yeah. So for like people listening, I have really, really difficult veins. So I actually, when I first signed up for the trial, I said, guys, test my veins first before you enroll me.
Yeah, that was a very memorable baseline for me, because you literally, like, before you'd even, you were like, literally, as you were sitting down, you were just like, yeah, can we check my veins now? And I was just like, okay, let's go upstairs and see.
I didn't want to waste your guys' time.
It was very sweet that you were like, you don't want to waste your time.
Such a good participant.
Like, yeah, very
good. I know
good.
how annoying it is when someone comes in, they know they've got bad veins, and they're still just coming in and like carrying on. And
wasting your time.
And then you get to the end of the visit and you're like, for fuck's sake, this was a waste of time.
You were the only one who did that.
I'm so great. Yeah. I'm so
Was she the most difficult?
No, I don't think she was actually.
Oh, wow. Jesus. Hold on.
There were some bad ones. There was some, You were right most of the time, I think.
Yeah. My blood was quite slow, I think, but actually getting it wasn't bad. So, tell us your data. Okay. What have you got? What's interesting?
So, where's my little document of cliff notes of what to do? So, most important thing. So, you've already said this, but for both of you, your favourite visit was the third one.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, that wasn't different. So, Alice.
Yes.
The most important result.
Okay.
Visit 2.
Okay.
That was your depressed one.
Yeah.
That was the one where chocolate tasted the best.
Oh. Oh my god, that makes sense though, because maybe I was so sad. Like I was so
chocolate.
Down.
That you needed chocolate.
That the chocolate was like, I was like, thank God, there's like joy in life. Do you know what I mean? I would say that was what it was.
I thought you were going to say you were so sad after you ate it because there was no more chocolate.
I probably was. I think I remember saying that one day. I remember it. No, I definitely complained about how we only got one square. I think I probably complained about that every day. I probably complained about that when I was sober as well.
You did, yeah. Yeah.
But were you sad during the visit?
I wasn't sad. No, I wasn't really. I don't know if I was sad during the visit, but I was like, I felt awful. I was like, I didn't want to talk. I just didn't want to be there. I was like, get me out of here. Don't want to be here. Can't stay here. But I just didn't talk. I think I kept my eyes closed for a lot of it too. I was like, they can't see me if I can't see them.
So you turned 5.
You basically, yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
And your worst chocolate visit was the first one.
Which was your least
Which
high
I didn't.
one?
I didn't feel high at that one. Which was weird.
And Curie, your worst one was also your first visit.
Yeah.
And your last one was the best one.
Wait, what?
For
your
chocolate.
Last visit was the best one for chocolate.
My first visit was my worst for chocolate.
Yeah.
So I was the opposite to you then. So the visit where I was the most high.
Yeah.
I didn't like the chocolate.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
And for music, your favourite one was visit 1.
Right.
And your worst one was visit 2 when you were depressed.
We're sad. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I picked a shite song.
So your music and chocolate was the opposite.
Yeah, but it wasn't a good song to listen to when you were high. It was like really angry. Like I remember being like, oh no. And that one where I was already feeling bad, it came on and I was like, I wish I could turn the volume down. But you're not allowed to because you have to listen to it at the same volume every time. It was very distressing.
And like similarly for you, Curie, actually, your worst music visit was your best chocolate visit. So
that's
weird.
interesting.
yeah. So visit 4 was your worst chocolate, and your best one was visit 3. But I noticed that all of your music ratings were really bad.
Because
like barely any of them were positive, and this one's your highest one at like just above 0. So like slightly better than if you were sober, but not really.
You know what? Like. I actually can't listen to that song anymore because
What is it? What did you pick?
It was Sierra Level Up.
Okay.
And I got so bored listening to that song that I hate it. I remember by the second or third visit I really hated it because I was like, I'm so bored of this song. Like this is such a shit song. And during the baseline visit when I was picking my song, I think I changed my song 3 times.
I remember that.
Yeah. Because I was like, I need to pick a song that I won't get bored of.
Interesting.
And now I hate it. I hate it so much.
So by picking it, you made yourself hate it.
Yeah. And I think just having to sit there and listen to this song for 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes, however long the song is, every time I got so bored. And I did not enjoy it at all.
In terms of your memory stuff,
Oh God.
I think it's all so subtle, the differences. I can't really say anything based off the two of you.
Okay.
What I can say
Yeah.
is that Alice was slightly better at remembering words than you.
Oh yes, yes. I remember this. This is like my proudest moment in my first. Was it my first visit? My first one where I got high, or was it the baseline? I can't remember. But it was wherever we were, it was Amir doing it, and I did the words, and he was like, he looked at the thing, and it was like, wow. Like, I was like, yes. Like, he was like impressed. Oh, I think he told me that I did better when I was high than he did when he was sober, or something like that. But maybe he was lying.
Well, so it's out of 12.
Right.
You got 12 at baseline.
Nice.
On 2 of your visits, you got 11,
That's quite good, isn't it?
which is what Kiri got when she was sober.
Oh,
So I'm as capable high as you are when you're sober.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when we take one thing away from this. It's that.
I remember during my first visit in the list of words, one of the words was trumpet, and like maybe Trump was in the news a lot.
So you're like, Trump.
No, I think you said like one of the things I put in was, I was like, Trump. Pit.
I also have a note here about from one of your visits. Do the words shark wall mean anything to you?
Well, her group with all her friends is called Basking Shark.
Yeah.
You're obsessed with sharks.
But did I just keep saying shark wall?
I think they were like 2 of the words was shark and wall, and then you just kept going shark wall.
I don't remember that.
To the point where you mentioned it again as being funny at like the sober interview at the end, because it was in the notes.
I don't remember that. Which visit was that?
It was the last one.
I don't remember that.
Curry's sober interviews weren't that sober, were they?
Well,
Okay, listen.
for one of them, she was apparently not as sober as I thought she was.
No, I just have bad coordination.
The sobriety test is one of those classic, like, when you see in all the movies in the American shows when the cops pull you over and you have to walk in a straight line with your finger on your nose or some shite like that. And then you have to turn at the end and walk back. And Curry kept falling over.
But I failed the test when sober as well.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I just have no coordination.
Which was impressive. I've not seen anyone else do that.
What was my lowest memory?
Your last memory was 9, I think.
Oh, so I'm still pretty happy with that.
Yeah, you got 9 on both the other ones. Yes. Kiri got 8 on 2.
Ha ha.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But Kiri was better at remembering numbers backwards.
Yes! I knew I was sick at that. Right, so...
Only backwards, though.
Only backwards.
Oh, so I was
The way it
bad at it the right way.
You were fine.
So one of the
But
memory,
Alice was better.
so one of the memory tests they give us is they say a sequence of numbers. We have to say it back to them first in the same order that they say it, and then we have to say it back to them in reverse order. Mm-hmm. I knew I was good at the reverse order one. I remember every single time in my head I was like, I'm sick.
You actually did do better once higher than you did sober.
Oh, wow.
Which one? Which time?
Visit 3.
Visit 3 was my least
Favourite.
high.
Your favourite
Yeah.
one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then...
Or like my happiest high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, in terms of our, like, clinical interview that we did at the end, we, like, score that based on sort of psychotic, like, symptoms
Interesting.
that you had during the day.
So who was more psychotic?
You. Definitely.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I think it was actually curious.
Oh! Shocking!
You're so much more of an anxious person than me.
Oh, wait, no.
Wait, really? Wait, the results are not yet in.
No, yeah, you had the highest score, Alice.
Me?
Yeah.
Uh,
Got a score of 12.
How high is that?
It's 5 more than 7, which is the baseline one.
Okay, cool.
So,
yeah.
got a little
What's
bit.
the max?
It's 7
The
high.
max is 49.
Oh,
okay.
So we're quite
not
low.
really that high.
Yeah.
My family would be surprised to hear that.
Well, we wouldn't really expect anything that
True,
high on
true.
this. And, like, anything that you do have is, like, really fleeting, typically. So, like, because it's, the idea for this is, like, it's for clinical interview for patients. So they obviously, like, have these experiences over a longer period of time, a lot more severe.
So at what score is someone then diagnosed as having psychosis?
So it's not used diagnostically,
Okay.
it's more like a research tool.
Right.
But, I mean, so 2 is like... So 1 means there's nothing.
Yeah.
2 means it's like questionable. So it's like not sure if this is just normal and like people are describing it a bit weird.
This person's just a bit strange.
Yeah, and then 3 is when it starts to be like properly symptomatic. So that's kind of like we rarely see more than a 3 or a 4 in the study. So we've had a few that were at a 5, but if we got to like a 6, then Ed would probably have to section someone if it's sustained for an extended period of time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But wait, you said we got 7.
Total.
12.
So there's 7
Groups.
like symptoms, and each of them have a score of 1. So 7 is the total at like baseline for having nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 7 is 0 psychosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm
We shouldn't have got into this, really, is it? It's going to be great for people listening. It's just like, so what do the numbers mean?
Maybe I should draw a diagram.
No diagrams.
I find podcasting is a great visual medium.
But it's great because we have an Instagram, so I can put the pictures on the Instagram.
Anyway.
So for 2 of your visits, Alice, you didn't have any psychotic symptoms at all.
Oh, cool. It's good to know.
So that was your first visit and your last visit.
Yeah.
So
Were they your 2 better ones?
The first one was the one that I didn't really feel high.
Okay.
And then the last one, I think I was okay in the last one. I remember there was one of them where I had a moment where it could have gone downhill. Like I was like, it was when I was lying in the bed and I was starting to feel kind of bad. I was like, don't know if I'm enjoying this anymore. And then I think it was Jack who was like, so what are you doing for the weekend? And I was like, oh, what am I doing for the weekend? And then I just did a complete U-turn. I was like, oh, I feel fine now. It was so weird. I felt it so strongly. I was like, I'm about to go over the edge. And then I didn't. It was interesting.
yeah, so on the second visit, you had a little bit of, well, we call it conceptual disorganization.
Right.
So it's kind of when your thoughts are really disordered, you're not really able to follow your train of thought.
Is this all measured in the interview?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So when we're asking you about like if you're having lots of thoughts, if they're easy to follow, it's kind of looking at that.
Yeah.
And then we also ask if like they're all over the place that like you really need to focus on them to figure out what's going on, like when we're talking to you and things like that, and doing like the tasks that we give you. So you scored a little bit on that, and you also had a bit of suspiciousness.
Wouldn't be like me.
So apparently you felt like you were being judged by Ed.
Oh, did I?
Oh, wow, we both had bad feelings. Oh, poor Ed.
Oh, poor Ed.
He gets it a lot. I
I
don't know
like
why.
Ed, though, as a person.
He's great.
Yeah. Why? I wonder
Maybe
why
he's
he
got
gets it so bad.
He's got a bit of a shifty face.
I feel bad, though, because Ed's not here to defend himself. So you
He
just said
actually did have the option. But
He
turned
did,
it
yeah.
down.
We gave him the option to go on.
He could have defended himself
true.
right
He could.
here.
So actually, he was given the opportunity and he didn't take it. So
So
you
fuck
talk
you,
about
Ed.
Ed's shifty face all you want.
And you also felt like people working on another study were really annoying.
Oh, was that the... Oh my god, wait. Oh yeah, I do remember, because there was another study that was completely different going on in one of the side rooms. And then there was all these nurses, but they just kept kind of getting in the way of everything. And I remember thinking that and being like, they're fucking everything up. Why are they here? Like, and all this sort of thing.
Cool. So that's probably not what we scored on then. You had a general feeling of distrust.
Yeah.
And you felt concerned about people looking at you, especially on the walk.
I mean, that's just normal.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And apparently you made eye contact with a woman in the corridor.
Oh no.
And you felt like she was out to get you.
Oh no! I can't remember which visit it was on, but I do remember walking down the corridor. I don't know if I would have said out to get me.
Is that the words she used?
It's the words that were written in the notes, but it was Ed's interpretation.
Yeah.
It also said, she was out to get her. Was what was written down. So I don't know.
Fuck you, Ed.
I don't know if that was what you said. Or
I don't think that is what I said. I remember thinking, like, catching eyes with somebody and being like, do you want to go on to Curry's now? Or was there more?
Oh, there was the other visit that you scored. So you got some delusions where you thought that the fire alarm above your bed was a bird in a spaceship. That was intentionally...
You are a proper psycho, man. I remember that.
And you felt like it was intentionally designed that way, and you were the first person to discover it.
Okay, so thoughts of like grandiose.
That's not grandiose.
And you also...
You're so special that you
I
were the
remember that
first
so
person
well.
to
I was
discover
so
it.
entertained by it.
There was also a point where we were taking your blood pressure while we were taking your blood, and you thought that the pressure from the blood pressure cuff and us taking the blood was going to make you explode.
Yeah, I remember that too. That was fun.
Also, you had some like slight hallucinations where you felt like the bass of one of the songs was vibrating so much it was making you physically shake.
This is normal, is it not?
I don't think I had anything like that. No.
But it's really funny because listening to you say it now, I know it sounds ridiculous, but at the time when I was saying it, I was like, this is like low level. This is fine. This isn't extreme.
Also, I wrote this down because I thought it was sweet. You forgot what you had to do during one of the tasks, but you didn't ask us because you were scared of disappointing us.
Oh.
That's probably quite similar to just general life
That's
as
a
well.
sign of like a high achieving.
Yeah, that's me.
Anxious.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
So, Kiri, so you always scored something on this. So you scored a little bit of suspiciousness on your first visit when you saw Ed and you thought he was kind of judging you. And then you had a bit of that sort of disordered thinking in your third visit as well. So for visit 2, so it links back to the Ed thing because you started thinking that we'd planted Ed last time round to make you anxious and that we were about to wheel him in again at any moment to do it again.
Did you use the words wheel him in?
Like Hannibal Lecter, like wheeled in.
Like a torture instrument.
I actually remember. I remember sitting there and being like, "He's gonna come in any moment."
Oh god.
And you sort of similar thing. You thought the cashier at M&S was an actor, and we'd planted him to behave in a certain way to get you to react in a specific way. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just a really suspicious person. Like,
Yeah.
I clearly think everything's just shady.
And then the other time, you had this thing where when we were taking your blood, you felt the blood drain out of your hand, finger by finger.
That.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like
It's really
that.
interesting how we both have issues with the blood taking.
Yeah.
Like we're both like, oh god, like, I thought I was gonna explode. You thought you were having all your blood taken.
I remember like my fingers got so cold, like
Yeah.
one at a time.
Index to pinky. I have it written here.
Very specific.
And then there was also like some like questionable suspiciousness where you said you saw a scary man who looked at you like there was something wrong with you.
Where?
That's like
On
my
the walk.
woman being out to get me.
I
So,
mean, it's
yeah.
Camberwell. There's lots of scary men.
That's true.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
shall
so
we do...
boring compared to you, Alice.
Oh, the bird was the best.
The bird
the
thing
bird
was
in the
great.
spaceship.
I
Was that the
remember.
one I think that was the visit I liked the best. What
Yeah,
visit
it was.
that? Yeah. I was having a great time that day.
Because you felt so special for discovering the bird
yeah,
station.
Yeah, and I remember I was lying there looking at it and I was like, yes. That's what it is. I think it was blinking and there was different coloured. There was like a blue, green, red thing going on.
Are you sure you just gave her weed?
That's a different study.
I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, it was fun.
Would you like to open your envelope?
Yeah.
I've made you wait this whole time.
So in these envelopes, it's going to tell us what...
So in these envelopes,
ratios
it's going to
we got
tell
on
you.
what days.
No, it's just going to tell you what your favourite weed is.
Oh, okay.
So if you ever want to smoke again, you know what to get.
We need to go to our dealer on the street and ask specifically. Oh, a page.
My favourite cannabis was the ratio of 2:1, so it's 20 milligrams of CBD and 10 milligrams of THC.
Oh,
Nice.
Dom, that's so cute.
I
Did you
know.
make that?
Yeah, I spent so much time on this
That's
this afternoon.
good on the Instagram. Definitely. Don't worry. Everybody who's listening, you'll get to see it.
So the highest ratio is 3:1, then 2:1, 1:1, 0:1.
So, okay, so this was my third visit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know which one was like, the way you both had a bad visit?
A really bad
Yeah, I
one.
can get that.
Can
for
you tell? Because I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Okay. What? This is literally the opposite of what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
So my favourite one was when I got no CBD at all.
Yeah.
What the hell? I hope I don't screw up your data.
Wait, so is this... Well, no, because we don't know which way it's going to be, right? Basically street cannabis, yay.
So you're
I like
really
that
lucky
caption.
because then, you know, you can just...
I don't
buy these
even
fruit-
need to ask
No.
for something special. I can just take whatever they give me.
Yeah.
So was this the one where she saw the bird in the spaceship?
Yeah, this is Spaceship Bird.
My
But I
mind-
mean, you
mind is blown.
It does sound like you were the most high in that one, to be fair.
I suppose it depends on what you would consider most high.
Yeah. I actually have a question, like a sciencey question about this.
Okay.
So, I know you ask for the women. You ask us when our last period was before we did that.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if you had women that had PDD, like premenstrual dysphoria disorder, right? Where like, so I've only recently learned about this. It's when some women have PMS that's so extreme that they do get like really bad symptoms of psychosis and depression and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because it's not a really known thing, that they just pass it off as really bad PMS.
What?
So I'm assuming when you analyse, you'd have to control for at which point of our...
Yeah, I mean, so
cycle.
the idea of asking you guys when, like, your last period
I'm really sorry
was-
if I've just thrown a spanner in your, like, analysis.
No, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So the reason we do it is because when we're one of the things we're looking at in your blood are your endocannabinoids.
Yeah.
So these are like your body's own sort of cannabis compounds.
Yeah.
And the levels of those change throughout your cycle. So we're just controlling for that. In terms of this condition that I've
Or
just
like
heard
just in
about,
general PMS as well.
yeah,
In terms of this new condition
that I've not heard of before.
that
except
was
in-
never mentioned to me until now.
I mean, I would have thought that if it was severe enough to affect our data, it would have come up in our kind of medical and psychiatric screening.
Yeah, that's what I would think as well.
But yeah, because
I guess.
I guess a lot of women would just pass it off as I just get really bad PMS, and wouldn't think of something.
I don't know, because I would have thought like hallucinations, delusions. These aren't really things that I would have kind
Passed
of
off.
passed. I wouldn't have thought of things that would be passed off as PMS.
I mean,
but
how would you know,
correct me
Dom?
if I'm wrong.
Do you hallucinate before your period? I don't. No.
I just get really angry.
Yeah. And hungry.
Yeah. And really hot, and I find everyone annoying, and people breathe.
You
and
find
I'm
people
like,
annoying all the time.
I know,
though.
but imagine how much worse it is.
True.
And like someone will breathe, and I'm like, why the fuck are you breathing?
You're like that anyway. Anyway. Okay. So hang on. Can you tell us then what was up? You know the way we both said we had a bad visit.
Yeah, so actually on your bad visit you both had the same thing. So
Yeah.
you both had the 1-to-1 on the bad visit.
Interesting. I would have thought it would be the 3-to-1. No.
That
No,
one, the one
no,
I got.
0-to-1, yeah.
I'm in shock.
So the 1-to-1 is the one that we both found the worst.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
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 That's interesting. That's not what I thought at all.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm so interested to know now what like all your results
Yeah.
are going to be.
Yeah.
When
Who
you
knows?
so your hypothesis when you first started, what did you think?
Well, we don't have a strict hypothesis about which is the best ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't think 1-to-1 is going to be the best ratio.
Yeah.
We don't think 0-to-1 is going to be the best ratio, obviously, but except for Alice and for me actually in my pilot. But with the 2-to-1 and the 3-to-1, it's kind of we think one of those is
probably
likely to be the best one, and we're not sure if necessarily the 3-to-1 will be the best one because it's got more CBD in it, because there are some side effects of CBD like sedation and stuff that people might not necessarily like, so having a bit less might be enough to control for like kind of the negative THC effects, but not have any.
Wait, so the 3-to-1 is the one that we didn't like the most?
No, 1-to-1.
1-to-1.
Oh, 1-to-1, sorry.
Equal
Yeah.
amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
That is really interesting. It's interesting. Like, it's interesting how we're so different as well.
Yeah.
Like, it says a lot about how difficult researching in humans actually is.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that I think might be a bit of an issue for us, because, you know, you guys came in 4 times. That first time is a lot more anxiety provoking than the
Yeah.
rest, because you don't really know what's going to happen. It's all brand new. Once you've done it once, it's kind of a bit more like routine and relaxing. So I think a lot of the kind of first visits people generally feel more anxious on, and I think that's probably going to come out in the data a little bit as well.
And you know how I didn't feel high during my first visit? Were you there? I think you were.
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was.
Did you have any other people that didn't feel very high?
Jack?
Really?
His first visit, yeah.
At his first one?
Yeah.
But then after that he did?
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
They've had a few people like that.
Yeah.
Not like loads, but a few, there have been a few like that.
Like, I consciously remember being like, wow, maybe I'm just really strong. Maybe I don't get high.
And then what happened with the second one?
And then the second one, I was like, oh,
A deep depression.
when will it end? It was awful. And you said the Horizons episode might be out in September.
Yeah, so we don't have a date yet, but we think it's probably going to be September time.
Let us know and we'll tweet it.
Yes.
Yeah. Watch this space.
Yeah.
We'll tweet it to our 20 followers.
We have quite a few Twitter followers.
Do we?
Yeah, we have over 100.
Okay, we'll tweet it. Maybe 100 people will watch it.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you're lucky.
Cool, that was really interesting.
That was very fun.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for giving me your data.
Thank you for
No problem.
Thank you for getting us high 4 times and paying us for it.
You're welcome.
It was a great study
Except
to
for the
participate
second
in.
visit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your first.
And my first.
Yeah.
Do you know I think
You should have paid us
I-
extra for that one.
I think I
Double.
messaged you about this afterwards, but I had really good sleep after that first one though. Like on my Fitbit, my deep sleep percentage was way higher than normal.
Don't
I think
remember
I
how
told
it
you.
looked.
I messaged.
I think you did show me your
I
Fitbit.
messaged whoever had the study phone. Yeah.
It just gets handed around.
Yeah. You could tell.
Yeah.
Cool. So, this is normally the part where I was about to be like, so what did you think? Any closing remarks? Or like, because normally we're talking about science, but how do we end this? I forget.
I don't know, but that was really cool.
Fun. We did
How much longer do you have left in your PhD?
I have like a year and a bit.
Okay.
So what's next?
September. Well, I finished data collection my other study as well, so it's just lots of analysis and writing.
Nice.
The fun part.
Yeah, the bit I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Everyone. Bye.
No, thank you for coming on and like unraveling all your data for us.
Thank you for having me.
That was really cool, and like these are really cute.
Yeah.
Thank you for dinner.
It's definitely. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was great.
Thanks for dinner.
That was real good.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm gonna have to make those meatballs. But yeah, watch this space. Dom might be the next person to help legalise weed in the UK for medicine purposes. Don't believe the propaganda that it's bad for you.
So if you would like to email us, you can do so on layoutpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, you can check us out on our socials on @layoutpodcast. We're on Instagram and Twitter.
And
We don't have a blog anymore.
we don't have a blog anymore. But Patch, we'd really like you to sponsor us.
Oh, and
also Conditor.
Oh,
If you want to
Conditor.
send us a box of free brownies,
I really
we'd
like.
be very happy.
I like the fudge packer ones.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
I mean, they're all good.
Yeah, but the fudge packer ones. Oh, and your gin and tonic cake and your peach and prosecco cake, please.
Is it not passion fruit?
I thought it was peach.
I don't
Oh,
know.
maybe it's passion fruit.
It's passion fruit. It's delicious.
The frosting is so good.
Okay, so that's all our cake order. We look forward to having that next time.
Yes.
Oh, that would have been good to have when we were doing the study. Because of that measly amount of chocolate you were giving us. You should have shipped in
It's
some
just instead of
brownies.
an entire. Oh, I thought you meant an entire cake.
Anyway, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
I think it's nice that we're keeping these intros shorter and shorter because really we have nothing to talk about ever.
I always have things to talk about.
Yeah, but they're never.
I never stop talking.
They're rarely interesting.
What do you mean they're not interesting?
Oh God.